Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about whatever it is we want to chat about. And today we are talking about success tips for struggling students. Success tips for struggling students. My very special guest I met on Instagram, actually a post that my neighbor, attorney Ben Crump, put up, and it was so captivating. It talked about how Mr. Ronnie Sidney II, who is my very special guest, was a special ed student, and now he was an author. He is also a licensed clinical social worker. And so I was so moved by that story that I reached out, and he responded, and I'm so grateful. And so I am excited and delighted to have him as my guest. But before I bring him on, I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? In the comments, if you don't mind, please put your city and state so we can give you a shout out. We are live on Facebook, on Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel, as well as on my Nicole Everett LinkedIn account. But this is an opportunity for us to interact with one another. It's a safe space for us to engage with one another. So I see Enigma Sep on with us. He said, let's go. All right, you ready? Like and share, tag a friend, tell them they need to be on here. We got Kim Preston and Tally Ho in the house tonight, and Aisha Harp in Tallahassee, Florida as well. Thank you for joining us. Yes, please like and share and tell folks to tune in, because this is going to be a great conversation. Before I bring on Mr. Sidney, I'm in Atlanta right now at the Habitat conference, and some of you may know, but my title is Advancing Black Homeownership Program Manager. And they have this great exhibit at the conference currently. And they had these shirts about Ask Me Why Black Homeownership Matters. And I just wanted to share with you a few reasons, which are on the back of this shirt, why Black homeownership matters. Number one is homes in Black neighborhoods are undervalued by an average of $48,000. The result is $156 billion in cumulative losses. Number two is Black households have the lowest homeownership rate in the U.S. at 41.7%. Number three, in 2020, Black applicants were denied mortgages at a rate greater than 2 to 1. Number four, Black Americans are 13% of the population. They own less than 3% of the nation's wealth. I share that with you because of the work that I'm doing at Habitat with this particular project, Advancing Black Homeownership, because we got to do something about that, y'all. So we are working to make a difference to increase those values, to increase approved applicants, to increase the Black wealth in the nation, specifically through home ownership and land ownership. So that's a whole nother show. But since I'm here and in the moment and receive, this information today, I definitely want to take a moment and share that. All right. So let's see. We got Marlene Mance and Pembroke Pines. Thank you for being here. Ken said he needs that shirt. All right, Ken, we're going to have to see if we can work on that. We got Miss Jeanette. Where you been, Miss Jeanette? We miss you. She's in Miami Gardens. And okay, and E said okay on location. Yes, we in the A. Just taking in the sights. E taking in the sights. All right, I am going to go ahead and share some of Ronnie Sidney's bio. So Ronnie Sidney II is a licensed clinical social worker and a therapist, a self-published author, activist, a motivational speaker, and business owner from Tappahannock, Virginia. Sydney is a 2014 graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University, HBCU Love, School of Social Work Master's Program in 2017. He became a licensed clinical social worker and has spent 17 years in the mental health field. He released Amazon's bestseller, Nelson Beats the Odds, in 2015, a semi autobiographical comic book about his experiences in special education. He went on to publish Tamika's New Dress, Rest in Peace, Ray Sean, Ray Loaded, and An Educator's Guide to the Nelson Beats the Odds series and Nelson Beats the Odds activity guide. He has a wife and four beautiful children, three girls and one boy. Y'all help me welcome Mr. Ronnie Sidney the second. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Good, good, good. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me and sharing
Yep,
your platform with me. I appreciate
abs-
it.
absolutely. My pleasure, my pleasure. So tell the people, who is Ronnie Sidney? Not what you do, but who are you in your own words?
So, it's a small town country boy from Virginia, a small town called Tappahannock. A lot of people heard of it because it's also the birthplace of Chris Brown. And me and him rode the school bus together as kids and with the church, and really proud of his success and the resilience he's shown over the years. But me, my father's a minister, so speaking has always come naturally for me. I spend a lot of time doing motivational speaking, going to schools, conferences. Also an author. I've written seven books, five graphic novels. My first book behind me is Nelson Beats the Odds, and it's about my experience in special education in the Essex County public school systems. And I wrote the book to inspire kids, struggling students, students with disabilities, students who don't fare well behaviorally at school, just motivating them, encouraging them to overcome the adversity and letting them know that, hey, college is an option for you. If you choose it. I'm a college graduate. I have represented the first college I graduated from, Old Dominion University in
Okay.
Virginia. So I'm just really happy to be here. Just happy to share my experience in hopes that it'll help, a parent or a child out there going through some of the things I experienced.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, really excited to have you here with us. And I don't think you told me that little fun fact about you riding a bus with Chris Brown. That's interesting. And didn't realize he was from your hometown either.
Yeah, so I throw that card out there every now and then.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So tell us a little bit about how you even got involved in social work in terms of, becoming a licensed clinical social worker.
So once I got my undergraduate degree, I came back to Tappahannock, and I worked for the Northern Neck Middle Peninsula Community Services Board, which
Hmm.
is a local agency that provides substance abuse counseling, and individual therapy, family therapy, all types of services for the community. And I had a lot of colleagues there who had graduated with their master's of social work degree, and they all encouraged me to go back to school and to get that. And I decided to go back in 2012,
Hmm.
and I earned it in 2014. And
Okay.
it was probably, I think it was the best decision I ever made. I got burnt out working undergrad, with just an undergrad degree. You don't really get a lot of opportunities in
Hmm.
health. So once you get your master's degree, you're in great demand. You can work privately, you can work for an agency. So also have a social justice side of me. So Benjamin Crump, I definitely salute him and love the work that he's doing on the social justice front. So I've done some activism in my community, outside of my community, and social justice, social equity is something that it's in my blood, and I truly believe in it. So it's
Gotcha.
great to be in a field where you can actually utilize your skills to help bring about, the change that you want to see.
Nice, 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 nice. All right. So, because I have a licensed clinical social worker on, I need to read my disclaimer because I don't want y'all to confuse this for counseling. So, that is that all topics, past, present, and future, on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or an answer to any personal issues related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program. So we are going to dive into success tips for struggling students because you were a struggling student at one time.
Still am. Still am.
All right, that's real. That's real. I can appreciate that. All right. And so tell us or tell me a little bit about, kind of why this particular population is one that you enjoy working with. I was checking out some of the videos of you on Instagram, like engaging with the children, and you really seem to relate well to them.
Uh, I always feel like some of the toughest kids are the ones who oftentimes neglected, and sometimes marginalized. So for me, experiencing, what I experienced, I know there's a lot of richness. There's a lot of potential in those kids, and sometimes, it just takes saying the right things, putting people in the right positions, making them feel like they're capable, of achieving. So, for me, I feel like there's a population that's often overlooked, but I also know there's a population with a ton of potential that's untapped. So if I can find a way to tap into it, whether it's through a book, through a motivational speech, through mentoring, whatever the, pathway platform I have to do it, I want to do it.
Okay. That's what's up. So, yeah, I mentioned to you that somebody on the post mentioned that they had utilized your book for their class. So talk a little bit about, you becoming an author and writing, these books for the children.
I tell people, I turned my struggle into my strength. When I was in school, I had a disability called dysgraphia, which
Mhm.
affects handwriting. So my handwriting was oftentimes compared to chicken scratch. So I know people in Tallahassee, Florida, Georgia probably have heard that, that say it about chicken scratch.
Yes.
So handwriting has
Yeah.
always been a challenge for me, and it's something I was always self-conscious about. And assistive technology is a great thing too. When you can find technology that can help you sort of level the playing field. So when I was in high school, computers were becoming popular. So, we had a class where we were taught how to type, and my dad has always had a computer most of my life. So I kind of had a head start on that. But I
Mhm.
found that, utilizing like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, I was able to communicate in a way that I could actually read, and also I could articulate my thoughts a lot better. So, I felt like that was one platform that helped me succeed and do well in college,
Mhm.
opposed to K through 12, having to write things down with a pencil. That wasn't my strong suit. With the books, once I graduated my master's degree, I reached out to my former special education teacher. I wanted to invite her to my graduation.
Hmm.
And we also connected through Facebook. She just told me to tell my story, and it was a story that I was ashamed of, and I never told anyone I was in special education. I never talked about it even with my parents, so they're just really taboo. But once I got to college, I read a book called a book written by Jawanza Kunjufu,
Mhm.
Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. It's something that.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm familiar.
So that book, it just talked about the overrepresentation of Black males in special education, the over identification of ADHD. So, I felt like that book really just opened my eyes to something that I experienced, but I didn't know that it was such a worldwide phenomenon. So that kind of just made me look that, hey, there's some racial bias, in special education. And, I saw myself one way, but the school identified me as something completely different.
Mm.
Great mom who always, told me I was smart, and I always felt like I was smart, but I don't know if the K through 12 system during that time was able to identify my strengths as opposed to identifying me as learning disabled.
Gotcha. And that book was countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys by Jawanza Kunjufu. So, question, you saw yourself differently in school versus what the school system saw you and labeled you and their placement of you, right?
Right.
Um, and there probably are boys and girls that are also experiencing that today in 2024,
Right.
right? What would you suggest to them, um, that may see themselves in a different way, but they aren't, for whatever reason, able to perform according to the status quo or what the norm is?
Right. Well, first, education. Just educating yourself on what's going on. Even with mental health, a diagnosis is not a life sentence. A diagnosis is simply a collection of symptoms that people have identified as representing one thing or another. So even when I have my patient, I tell them, don't buy into the diagnosis. You are not your diagnosis. You are not a schizophrenic. You're not, bipolar. You are individual diagnosed with that. However, it's something that's treatable and it's something that is manageable. So for me, like I didn't know much about ADHD. I didn't know, what dysgraphia was. It wasn't until I was adult that I was able to really understand, who I was. And I had went back to my former school when I was at Old Dominion. I wrote a paper about the Individuals Education Act, and that's when I really educated myself on special education.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to my former school and I retrieved my IEPs, with individualized education plan and other special education documents, and it was a ton of documents. And I was able to read about myself
Mm-hmm.
and utilize some of that information to write my book, Nelson Beats the Odds. But first, education. Second, advocacy. So I know a lot of times when parents go into those IEP meetings, it's very intimidating. You may have the principal, you may have several teachers, you may have psychologists, and if you don't feel that uh, you don't feel confident and you don't feel well informed, you may do a disservice to your child. So if you don't feel comfortable, there's several different advocacy groups, I'm sure, in your community or even nationally or statewide, where they will send an advocate to come to those meetings with you, to make sure that you're getting the best services for your child. Also, I know a lot of times African American families, there is a stigma around special education.
Mm-hmm.
There are some parents who are in denial, and I always believe in early intervention. For me, I was in special education for 7 years. I would say 6 to 7 years, I felt like it was beneficial. But once I got to high school, they wanted to move me into what they call a self-contained classroom. But it's
Mm.
a classroom where they keep special education kids in for a majority of the day. And, I felt like I was better than that. No offense to the people in the class, but I felt like I could learn and achieve more. But between the behaviors and the expectations, it was something that was very difficult to overcome. But I was blessed to have a family like my sister. She went to Virginia Commonwealth University. She was educated. My dad, he dropped out of high school. But while I was in school, I saw him as a minister, earn his bachelor's degree, earn his master's degree, and eventually earn his doctorate. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, who also, didn't do well in school, I watched her go to community college and earn an LPN degree. So I was able to grow up and see these examples of people who had challenges, but were able to overcome and use those opportunities to become professionals, in their life. So it just took me a little bit longer to get there. I was blessed to have examples and also have parents who believed in me and who wanted the best for me.
Indeed. No, I think the things that you said thus far are very important. And, maybe a young person might not feel like they can educate themselves. And maybe for whatever reason they can't. But I know we have a lot of adults on this live. And so maybe the adults need to educate themselves about what potentially could be going on with their child or the young people in their lives, right? So, like you're saying, finding out about this diagnosis. So, yes, you may have been diagnosed with whatever, but as you stated, you are not that diagnosis. Not to say that the diagnosis does not exist, but that is not the be all end all of you. There's so much more to you than whatever you've been diagnosed with. So again, lean into it, get very educated and familiar with it so that you will, know how maybe you can manage it, and how you can overcome whatever obstacles may come your way as a result of it. I see we have a few more folks that have joined us. Miss Brittany, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Miss Tanisha in Tallahassee, appreciate you being here. My cousin Nora in Virginia, in Suffolk specifically, thank you for being here. Miss Tracy Bryant, who is in the A as well, and Mr. Ozzy Daniel, who is in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Yes, VA. All right. So also I see, Ronnie, you said visit understood.org for information about disabilities.
Yes, it's understood.org is a fantastic website.
Okay.
I partnered with them about 5 years ago. They feature one of my videos on that website, but it's a website that has pretty much every single learning disability that's known to man. And they provide resources, they provide support. They also have videos of individuals with a variety of different disabilities,
Okay.
people who've achieved success in their chosen field, and really great examples for kids who may have those. I was invited to San Diego about 4 years ago to speak at a college, and the professor, she had a video feature.
Mm-hmm.
She had, what did she have? Did she stutter? I think she stuttered, and she was a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
unique, but her videos featured on there.
Okay.
No, she had to. I think she either had Tourette's or she.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
her video was featured, so you can just look at different videos. You can learn about the diagnosis. They have people that you can like chat into, and they'll give you information. Also, information on advocacy. But again, just being armed with information, having a website or a reference point you can go to help support you it can do wonders.
Yes. No, thank you for that resource. And definitely y'all check that out. Because again, we're just trying to become educated about what's out there and what could help benefit us as we become informed and how we can advocate. Now you mentioned you got a copy of your IEPs from school. What was that experience like in terms of you going back and looking over those and seeing things that were said about you?
I mean, I remembered it, and honestly, I just remember how I felt. And I don't really remember a lot of stuff, but
Mhm.
I just remember I remember the day it was 8th grade. I had left 7th grade. I thought I'd be out of special education because I used to be, once I got old, I was embarrassed about going to special education.
Mhm.
Once I went to 8th grade, I thought that I was done. I thought I could go to the regular classes. And when I got to the first day of school, they changed my schedule during the middle of the day, and they changed my schedule back. That's when I told you about being in self-contained. They
Mhm.
placed me in a self-contained classroom, but I wanted to be in the classes that prepared kids for college. Because I know in Virginia, well, when I was in school, we had different tracks. They had a track for kids who were in special education. They had a track for kids who weren't, great students, but they could do okay. And then they
Mhm.
had tracks for like the gifted students. So I wanted to be on the gifted student track because those students had the best teachers. The teachers expected a lot from them, and they were usually kids who had future plans.
Mm.
But being put in classes with kids who aren't really focused and not motivated and want to come to school to play, you sort of become that. So I had became that person.
Mhm.
The older I got, the more I saw that there was this this these pathways, and a lot of times it was based on socioeconomics and race. Uh,
Mhm.
and when I started taking those college preparatory type classes, there were fewer black males, and there were fewer students of color. And so early on, I started to see the world in black and white, so to speak. Uh,
Mhm.
but I feel like too with special education nowadays, it can provide you with like a ton of opportunities, especially in college. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want any type of modification. I didn't want any type of accommodations in college
Accommodations. Okay.
because I wanted to do it on my own. Thankfully,
Gotcha.
I succeeded, but there are other people out there who may need that additional study time, additional time to take a test. And with your IEP or even your 504 plan, you can actually take those to college with you and to give you documentation to get, further accommodations. So, don't, I know me, I had a lot of pride, and I think students with disabilities, a lot of them do have a lot of pride. And sometimes that pride can help you through a lot of times, but then sometimes it can also hinder you. Um,
Mm.
like I said, thankfully, I was able to make it through. But I know a lot of people do struggle in college with or without disabilities. So if you need those extra accommodations, go to your, I guess maybe your admissions office or
Mm.
with a counselor and just see how you can utilize those to help you succeed in college.
Indeed. All right. We got a few comments here. Steve Uphold said, Ronnie, you hit the nail on the head with having a person to support is key with an issue or a problem. Marlene said that her son is on the autism spectrum, and the same thing occurred when he was in elementary school with teachers attempting to limit his hours in the mainstream classes. I didn't accept that. He is now 28 years old, college graduate in the IT field. Yes, yay, yay, yay. Nora said, my 11-year-old son is in special ed and also has an IEP. This is his first year in special ed, and this has been his best academic year ever. All right, yay. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Beverly, who is an occupational therapist here in Tallahassee, she said, when you learned about dysgraphia, I hope I pronounced it right, did you feel relieved to know that you were trying your best and that you weren't slow or lazy?
Absolutely. It was refreshing. And here I am. I think I may have been probably was like 30 plus. At a 30 plus, seeing like, this is what it's called. This is something that I can identify with. It was a feeling of relief.
Mm,
All those things you mentioned is how I felt and how a lot of kids feel when they don't know what's going on. And
yeah.
my parents, I can only imagine how frustrating it was for them
Mhm.
because they didn't really know what was going on either. Um, and I felt like even reading my IEPs, they didn't even call it dysgraphia. They characterized it, but they didn't have the words. So I feel like in this generation, a lot of people are more informed. Teachers are, and
Mm,
even schools now, I've heard teachers say every teacher is a special education teacher because now you have inclusion. So a lot of times, special education students they don't have to go to their room in the back of the school near the closet. They can be in a class with general education students with the support of an aide. So I think today, in today's age, special education has improved, leaps and bounds, but there's always still room for growth. And also, when I read my book to a school, one of the students came up to me. He's like, I don't have a disability or anything, but I feel like everybody in the school needs to read your book because the books are mirrors and windows. And Kwame Alexander, shout out to him, fantastic children's book author,
mm,
also an award winner many times around. When I was starting to write my book, I met with him. I saw him at a book conference. And I asked him a question about, what advice you have, and he said that books are windows and mirrors. A book can be a mirror to a person who can relate and understand and knows exactly what that character been through. But it can also be a window for people who have no idea what that experience is like. So for him, even though he wasn't in special education, it educated him on what it's like for students who experience and go through that. And I think when kids know about something, whether it's a disability, physical or mental or emotional or intellectual, they're a lot more educated and a lot more kind and they have more empathy. When kids pick and make fun of kids, a lot of the times it's out of ignorance. But if you can educate a kid and give them that, sense of, of, of identity and, a word that can sort of characterize them, I think it can be beneficial.
Ooh, you said a whole lot. I think One of the most important things, which I think Beverly was trying to drive from asking that question, is being able to name that thing, and like she said, not um, it affirming that you weren't slow or lazy or crazy for that matter. Like you, something was going on, but you just didn't know what. And to be able to name that thing, I think is so important. And then once you do, it's now like, now what are you going to do about it? Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So we have Miss Shalonda Sidney Ross.
My sister.
Okay. Hey, sis. She said, Ronnie, can you talk about the teacher who told you that you wouldn't go to college and how that helped to motivate you? That speaks to your resilience and belief in yourself. So, before you do, we're at about halfway through our talk. So, I just want to do a little quick station ID for those of you who are just joining us. I am on with Mr. Ronnie Sidney II, a licensed clinical social worker from Virginia. We're talking about success tips for struggling students. He was in special ed for 7 years, was told that he was not going to be able to go to college by one of his teachers, but he is not only a graduate of college, but a two-time graduate. And also, look, he repping Old Dominion. Uh, Also a licensed clinical social worker and a best-selling author. And just I gotta pause because we have a sponsor tonight for the show, and that is Miss Gloria Darling, who does the Talapalooza. So I want to mention about that talent show competition coming up on March 16th in Tallahassee at the American Legion at 12:30 p.m. I will actually be judging that event. It is her third annual Milestone Divas Day. So the talent show and competition will be taking place on March 16th. You can go to talapalooza.com for more information, and I will have more information on my Facebook page. All right, so let's get back to this question that your sister asked about, talking about the teacher who told you that you wouldn't go to college and how that helped to motivate you and how it speaks to your resilience and belief in yourself.
Yeah, that teacher, he was very interesting. Everybody keep asking, did you send him a book? Did you send him a book? Well, I have a character in the book that is not directly, it doesn't look like him. However, the characteristics are very similar. So,
Mhm.
I ain't rich enough yet to get sued and have a lawyer to back me up. But, this teacher was very interesting. He was a math teacher. I could tell he was like a young teacher, new. And he had got mad because the class was just goofing off, playing, and he kind of
Mm,
stopped class like,
mm,
none of you all are going to college, and you know, most people would be shocked, but for me, I wasn't shocked because that's exactly how I thought he felt. When you a person and a lot of time people have to say how they feel in order for you to pick up on it. And
mm,
I know he didn't believe in me. I know he didn't think that I would be anything. So, all he did was affirm it, by saying it. And those are the type of teachers that some kids have to deal with and experience. They have teachers who, and when I share my book, a lot of people have told me stories about people telling them they wouldn't be anything, and people not believing in them. And for me, it just made me want to prove myself right, and prove other people wrong. uh,
mhm,
I knew who I was. I knew what I was capable of doing. um, I wasn't doing it at that time. I don't really know why I wasn't doing it, but once I was able to get out of that environment, a lot of times some schools are toxic, some environments are toxic, some
mm,
cultures are toxic. And once I left school, I said, once I left my high school, I wanted a blank slate. This is my opportunity to prove myself, prove, not just to myself, but prove to other people that I was capable of learning in college and being a college student. And I had this person telling me I wouldn't go to college, and I wanted to overcome that. Like I wanted to graduate. I wanted to be able to one day come back and hopefully see this person again and let them know that. But once I got older, I also was less bitter and less angry about those experiences. So
mm,
I feel like that experience, I needed that experience in order to be who I am and to be able to give back. And I actually want to thank him for saying that, because it was almost like reverse psychology. You know,
Yeah.
it motivated me to do that. But I don't encourage any teacher to ever say anything like that, because for every me, there's 3 people who, ended up getting locked up. Because
Right.
I work in corrections now, and I can't tell how many people, didn't have the high school, degree, that I saw, behind bars. So, for every successful dyslexic, there's 3 people who, don't succeed, or,
Mm.
so whatever the case may be. I just, teachers, I know it's a frustrating job, but your words have power. Your words, especially to a kid who looks up to you and
Yes.
respects you, and you're a person of authority. You can, if anything, plant that seed of empowerment, of inspiration, of encouragement. Don't discourage students, because for some people, that can be the one thing they need to tip their life in a negative way. So
Hmm.
really try to empower those kids.
Very true. Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. As you were stating, like your environment does play a role. You have to have a very strong mindset to go against those messages around you're not going to ever be anything or amount to anything, or you're less than or substandard or what have you. And so you know eh, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And like you said, for every one of you, there are probably 3 others who don't have the mindset to get out of it, to fight through the negative environment that they're in. So that is so, so very important. We have a few more folks that have joined us. Miss Javon in Atlanta, thank you for joining us. And my cousin Whit, who is in Portsmouth, Virginia. Boy, the Virginia folks are showing out tonight, I'm telling you. All right. Yes, BA. So you talked about educating themselves, because again, we're talking about success tips for struggling students, educating yourself, advocacy, your environment, right? That being important. And so surrounding yourself around, people that are trying to do something, or that are encouraging you, that are lifting you up, and you know trying to push you forward in a positive direction, right? Anything else that you would and my cousin Laura said we represent tonight. She's in stuff. Anything else that you would tell any young person that may be struggling, based on what we've talked about, or something similar to what you experienced, outside of, again, educating yourself, advocacy, your environment, changing your environment? Anything else that you would share with them?
Definitely, like, find your passion.
Mm.
Find something that makes you like want to learn more, makes you want to do more, something that you can strive for. Uh,
Mhm.
I know for me, my passion it has. When I was in high school, I had an English teacher who, when I was in school, I used to get in trouble a lot for talking. I would always talked a lot, just probably talk, everybody's head off. And she said, why don't you join debate and forensics? And forensics, which I never heard of it before, but it's a competition where you can write a speech and be able to present it to the judges, and they grade you, and you can compete against kids all over the state. And
Mm.
I wrote my first speech. It was called "A Dream Deferred," and it was in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. And it was the first time I ever learned something. I had to learn the speech, verbatim, and present it. And each time I presented it, I did a little better. And then I, graded at church. Shout out to churches. Church is really a great foundation for leadership. And I was able to read it at church, and I really just got confident, professional speaking. And then that me writing the books was actually an opportunity. Was a way for me to build my public speaking platform. Um,
Mm.
Shout out to this is some information to like new authors. They say books are like a business cards. You become once you write a book, you become an expert on that particular topic. So if you want to get into public speaking, it can open up a lot of doors. But for me, public speaking is always something I just want, a platform I always wanted to grow, because I love speaking to kids and going to schools and going to conferences and talking to teachers and educators and parents, and just really, like I said, not just sharing my story, but using my story as a way to encourage them and to motivate them. And I tell people I wrote Nelson Beats the Odds because it was the book I wish I had when I was a kid. Uh,
Mm.
and even writing, writing poetry, writing is also a passion of mine. And in high school, I used to write raps. That was how, I spent a lot of my time. I probably should have been doing more learning, but, we would just write raps in school. And, parents sometimes like, oh, raps suck, but a lot of times with raps, it does make you creative with language. You
Mm-hmm.
know, about different ways to use words, in a way that other people don't. So it's a lot of creativity and a lot of higher level thinking, involved in raps and even in comic books. Comic books, people think, oh, it's just pictures, but it involves a lot of integration, between the text and with the pictures. You got to be able to integrate those different things. And it's actually a more complex form of reading. So, if a kid doesn't like reading chapter books, I wasn't a big chapter book reader. I needed to see a couple pictures and I needed to know how long this book is before I pick it up. So, if you have a kid who's, not that type of reader, give them a comic book. Find a book for a kid that looks like him was going through what he's going through. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that, I had Nelson and his friends, African American, and there was one Latino, is because there's a lack of books written by Black authors and then a lack of books where a Black author is the main character. So I wanted to put a book out there to where a kid feel like they can identify with the characters that are in the book. And,
Mm.
and making reading, more accessible because reading is so important. I mean, the ability to read can really change your life, and I want every kid to explore reading, especially nowadays. I feel like reading isn't because now you have books where you can just listen to audio wise, and I really hope kids could continue reading, pick up reading because it can really make a difference. A lot of knowledge is in books, and there's a lot of imaginary place you can go inside a book. So kids, if you want to become a better writer, read. That's always the first step.
Absolutely. Miss Patricia Jefferson has joined us, who is in the Tallahassee area. Thank you for being here. Beverly asks, is there anything that you would share with parents who know that their children are struggling in school but don't know what to do about it?
That's a great question.
Mm.
I think I always, even as a therapist, I was just blessed to have some great therapists, mentors, and one of my mentors said that parents are the expert of their kids. A lot of times, parents know what to do, and even in therapy, people come to therapy, and my supervisor, she always said, don't give them the answers. Let people figure it out on their own. Ask them curious questions. A lot of times parents know what to do. It's just sometimes a matter of courage and sometimes it's that fear of making a mistake. Maybe I'm wrong. But I know with my dad, I asked him, Dad, what worked, for me? Like what helped me turn the corner? What was the secret? What was the magic, because these teachers asked, what was the magic thing? And he was like, nothing worked. He's like, nothing worked. But sometimes you just got to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and hope something sticks. So never be afraid to try different things. And I always wish, even as an adult, I wish my parents would have asked me about special education. How did I feel? What did I think about it? Nobody ever asked me anything. So sometimes just having that conversation, it can really help a kid get a lot of weight off their shoulders. Know they struggle. Like, if a parent can tell a kid is struggling, the kid, I guarantee knows they struggle. But sometimes pride, sometimes ego. No kid wants to feel other. No kid wants to feel like they can't do well. But sometimes, naming the elephant in the room can, for one, lift a lot of weight off the kids, but also open up a conversation about how can, we help you achieve? Like, how can we help you succeed? How can we make this a little easier for you? How can we, get you the assistance that you need to do well? So definitely let the kid lead. In Virginia, they have a program called I'm Determined, probably one of the best programs I've ever heard. And it's really an empowerment tool for students with disabilities because the students are the ones leading the IEP meetings. They're educated on what their disability. They actually do a whole presentation about their disability, who's in that support system, like who's in the IEP team, what accommodations they want, and they take an active role in that. And when I was in school, I don't even really remember going to the IEP meetings and asked my dad. He said, "No, you didn't even go to your meetings." But these people in the room talking about me, creating a plan for me, but not including me, I feel like is a crime. And
Mm,
I didn't even know what my disability was. I'm completely
right.
ignorant in this program, and these adults are sort of dictating and guiding, this education plan without including me. So, I, even as a student, like I always advocated for myself because
Yeah.
I saw the inequalities, I saw the inaccuracies, I saw the deficiencies. So for me, at a young age, I had to learn how to become an advocate. And for parents, you're your kid's biggest advocate. So you
Mhm.
always make sure if there are accommodations they can get, make sure that you take advantage of that because
Yeah.
if your kid may be struggling, without that life jacket.
Indeed. No. What was the name of the program in Virginia? You said I am what?
So I'm determined.
Um,
I apostrophe am determined.
okay.
It's,
My,
even if you're not in Virginia, go to the website because they have different tools on it. They have this worksheet called it's something having a good day or a good day worksheet, and the worksheet pretty much has a kid write out when their days are going good. What are some things that they do? Do they eat breakfast? Do they listen to a favorite song? They have a lot of different worksheets and activities that are really empowering and informing for students with disabilities. But right now, I know it's offered in Virginia. It's called I'm Determined, and different
okay.
schools throughout the state can sign up. And they have conferences. They actually have a conference at Virginia State University.
Hmm.
It used to be just for African American males, but now it's just for African American students or students of color to come out. The parents come out. They stay on campus for 2 or 3 days. They listen to different speakers. The parents are on the different workshops and just the opportunity for a parent and a student with disabilities to be on a college campus and to have that experience is great because when I was in school, special education students, they weren't encouraged to go to college. They
Mm,
weren't even offered classes to get into college. Even when I got out of special education, I had to fight to get to get foreign language classes, and I didn't even get enough to be able to apply to college. So I ended up going to community college, which was actually a great decision.
yeah.
If you have a student that's struggling or a special education student, community college is a great first step because you can really tell whether or not this is for you going to community college. The pace
Hmm.
is a lot slower. You have more access to the professors and to the advisors. Everybody, it's an environment where you don't feel like everybody's supposed to get it. When you go to university, everybody's supposed to get it. There's nobody holding your hand.
Hmm.
No type of. I mean, unless you go to HBCU. I went to PWIs. So PWIs, there may be 20,000 students there, and you just a number. You just a speck. So once
Yeah.
you go to university, you have to really know your stuff. But community college, great opportunity to build that foundation, to have people that actually, I won't say people in the university don't care about you, but have
Right.
professors that are more accessible and understand the challenges that those students experience as adults and for young people.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I'm again glad you mentioned all of those things because one, I was not aware that, those were some of the challenges that you face going into college. And that just seems so bizarre to me. But this is
And when I graduated from Old Dominion, which was and this is stuff that just makes me angry even as an adult.
hmm
So Old Dominion requires 3 years of foreign language. So I took 2 years in high school. My advisor said if you would have took 1 year in middle school, that would have been your 3 years. Middle
uh
school, instead of taking foreign language, I had to take my remedial special education class. And I
got
was too hot because my friends were taking French and Spanish in middle school, and I'm in my special ed class.
mm,
Even though I didn't really know much about foreign languages, I wanted to take it. Like I thought it was cool.
mhm.
And, because I didn't get that class, I had to take 2 additional years in college.
Gotcha.
College foreign language is not easy. If you can do it in high school, do it in high school because
Do it
college
in high school.
they expect you to speak it fluently.
Yeah.
So you gotta take it to high school if you can.
Yes, 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 yes. All right, we got a few more folks that are chiming in. Coach Merv is on with us. He's in Madison. Yes, appreciate you being here. Great topic. My mom chimed in and said, "Great subject. I agree. about the many things Ronnie says. I can identify with his ideas. I was a poor reader. Thank you for sharing, Mom. She said, wow, I went to community college too. And we got Miss Alethea on. She says, someone may have mentioned this resource, but one thing I did for my son was encouraging him to start out at community college, but to register with Disability Student Services. Said my son has auditory processing disorder. He needed additional assistance with comprehension even throughout his college matriculation. He had me as an advocate. Bravo. So glad that you were there to advocate for him, Mom. We appreciate that. All right, Coach Merv, what do you think needs to happen inside the school to not make special education shameful? Should they not be separated or isolated? What's your thoughts about that?
Um, I definitely don't think they should be separated and isolated. I mean, there are some students who have sensory processing issues and need less stimulation and need a smaller room. But there are a lot of students who need. Because I always feel like if you want in special education, the expectations weren't very high.
Hmm.
I remember in class, I mean, it was kids in there doing really basic elementary school work, and we were in middle school and almost high school. Um, and, some of the teachers coddled the kids and allowed them to just goof off and not, do well. Of course, I didn't want to be that person. I want to push to challenge me a little bit, even if I'm not getting it. I don't want to feel like you like looking down on me or you thinking that I'm incapable of doing it, but incapable of doing it. But I feel like for me, when you put a special education student in a classroom with students who are achieving on a higher level, it forces them to elevate their game a little bit more. But if you put them all in the same class together, and it's almost like the blind leading the blind. And you know, as far as the shameful piece, again, education. I love what I'm Determined program does. They invite kids, parents, the community out, and these kids actually educating on their disabilities. I think a lot of people even struggle with disabilities that are unidentified. There's kids in school with disabilities, but they don't have an IEP or a 504 plan, and they just in school with no services, no support. And they're failing. So, I think one thing is just educating. I think too, culture is shifting now too. I think there's more sense of inclusion. I think the kids are more understanding now. Even TikTok has been helpful. Social media, kids are seeing these different disabilities and being exposed to them now in ways that they weren't exposed to them in the past. And even the way movies and culture was, movies used to make fun of like Waterboy and other movies, wearing the helmet. I mean, you don't really see that in movies anymore. But back then, if you had a disability, the movie just really just did you dirty. But now it's a little bit different. You actually see like kids with disabilities, adults with disabilities, in main roles, and they're actually showing other facets of them, of their life. These are human beings, but oftentimes in movies, in the back in the day, they were portrayed as just this inhuman person who wasn't capable of even tying their shoes or doing anything right. I think that wasn't cool. So I think culture is shifting a lot more now.
I would absolutely agree with you as well. I think, the term that is being used is neurodivergent, and that speaks to people having a different way of processing information. And so, yes, I feel like there are definitely more sensitivities around that. And I think, like you said earlier, it's like every teacher is now becoming a special ed teacher because of having to be mindful of just these different learning styles for their students. We got John White in the house in Jacksonville. Thank you for joining us. And Ish in Gainesville, Florida. He said, "Yep, folks getting called short bus shorty." Yes.
Yeah, that's short. I can't tell you how many short bus jokes. But for me, I was able to play it off because no one really ever saw me going to special education class. So most people didn't know, except for people that were in the class.
Yeah.
And it was really that stigmatization that really kept me from from really applying myself in the special education classroom, because I really wanted to hurry up and get out of there. So I actually did enough to get out of there, but I didn't really take advantage of the resources like I probably could have and should have.
Okay.
But it was so much about worrying about what other people thought of me. And I think that drives a lot of kids in school. A lot of kids, whether it's not having the newest shoes or, stuttering or having a disability, like nobody wants to be othered. Nobody wants to feel like they don't fit in or to be that person. So, um, kids are cruel in school. They tease, they pick, because everybody got something wrong with them. Everybody wants to feel like they're better than somebody else. So, unfortunately, I let that drive me. Even wearing my glasses, the only reason I'm wearing them now because of the glare. But I didn't like wearing my glasses in school. And I talk about it in my book. I didn't wear my glasses until I was in like 11th grade. And I tell kids, I say have a wear your glasses Wednesday, where everybody in the school wears their glasses, even if they don't wear glasses, but it makes it more accommodating and comfortable for people to do. But when I started wearing my glasses, I could see the board, and I was more engaged, and life was so much different when I started wearing them. So a lot of kids struggle because they don't wear their glasses, or they may have a hearing issue, and they don't wear a hearing aid because they don't want to get teased. But it took me a while to become confident. But I think parents definitely pointing to their kids, helping them feel more confident and secure in themselves. As kids in special education, that is like I don't feel no stigma. Like I don't. I'm cool. I'm good. I don't have that issue, and that is a blessing to my ears, because no kid should have that issue. Like you said, neurodivergent. Even the language that we use is different now. Words like retarded, those types of words were actually like medical terms that they use to describe it.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. Like an imbecile. Words like that were actually like these medical terms, and unfortunately, it created these prisons for people. Some people were confined by these words, these terms. Even looking at my IEP and it's classifying me as learning disabled. What if I adopted that? What if I, believed that I was unable to learn? So the language, the words we use, are important, and again, being sensitive to those things.
Absolutely.
It can help a kid.
Absolutely. Your sister actually mentioned this. She said language is important. One thing I learned from Ronnie was different abilities versus disabilities. Words have power, and we need to look at how we are identifying young people, persons with different abilities. Absolutely. And thank you for just reframing that for us. We appreciate that. All right. Latanya Smith, she said everyone learns differently no matter how similar they are. Absolutely agreed. Thank you for sharing that. And she has a nonprofit that focuses on youth, Speak Life to Youth and Children International here in the Atlanta area. Live, love, life, and peace. Great show, great job to you both. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So we are at the end of our conversation. And just to recap really quick, because I've been taking notes. Success tip for struggling students: educate yourself, not only the student but the parents. Advocacy, changing the environment, finding your passion, looking into programs and resources. And the last one, which was not necessarily on the list, but I thought it was a very important one, and that was to become confident. Young people becoming confident with who you are, and loving yourself. And it's okay if you need something to help you with hearing or with seeing or some other special accommodations. It's okay. So I would recap all of that as those success tips for the struggling students. But I want to give you an opportunity, Mr. Ronnie, to give us some closing remarks and tell folks how they can connect with you.
Definitely. One, everybody be blessed. I know we just completed Black History Month, but one thing that I didn't mention was cultural identity, and it was something that I was in desperate search for once I went to college, and just learning, not just who I was as an individual, but learning my family history, learning my cultural history, even all the way back to Africa, and really using that history to empower me, it really changed my life. So, sometimes just a kid just being empowered by their culture and by their story, their resilience of their own people can do wonders. But you can find me on YouTube. You can type in Ronnie Sidney II. Have a YouTube channel and YouTube videos. You can follow me on Facebook, Ronnie Sidney LCSW. You could also find me on Twitter and Instagram at RONNIESIDNEYII. I'm on the social media platforms. If you are interested in my books, they're available on Amazon. You can also find them on Walmart.com and BarnesandNobles.com. Just encourage you to visit my website, www.creative-medicine.com. I have some free resources and tools on there for kids. I have a self-esteem app that you can download on the Apple iTunes store. And hopefully, if you like me and you want to invite me to your city or to your conference, I'm available to do speaking engagements. So you can find me. You can email me at RONNIE at CREATIVE hyphen symbol MEDICINE. It's Ronnie at creative-medicine.com. But thank you all for your time. Please, if you have a kid with disabilities, again, educate yourself and just make sure you just have that conversation. Like, talk with them, give them an opportunity to express themselves in the ear, empathetic ear, to listen to what's going on in their life.
Absolutely. No, great information. Thank you for sharing the resource. And your sister, she right here, Johnny, on the spot. I love it. Appreciate you, sis. With the email address and all. So Kim Layton, who is an educator down in South Florida, she just joined us. She said, agree with that checklist. Yes, I motivate my students daily, but they need confidence so much. I start the day with daily affirmations for kids. Love it. Yes. Yes. Brittany, my son is going through this. He has joined Boys the Kings. Yes. And it's been such a great help. So shout out to Coach Merv in Madison County. Thank you for sharing that, Brittany. Alethea, you'll want to go back and watch the recording at Kim. It's very important and informative topic for students, parents, educators, and the entire village, quite honestly. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. So I hope this has been beneficial. Some of you have chimed in. We appreciate it. Others of you, if you would, let us know in the comments if this has been beneficial to you. And if you feel like you can share this with someone else. My cousin Nora said, awesome conversation. Thank you for being here, Nora. Please like and share, tag a friend, tell them they need to check this out and utilize the resources. We talked about a whole lot of things that folks could use. I'm Determined program, which is a Virginia program, but there are resources on there that anybody can use. Ronnie's website, he has some tools on there as well, and I think there was one more. But yeah, utilize the resources, get educated, utilize the tools, advocate for yourself if you're a young person watching this, or adults or people who have young people in their lives that may be differently abled in terms of their learning abilities. So we definitely want you to do that. And then for those of you who are new to the platform, please subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. We are here Mondays and Wednesdays. Our focus is on mental health and wellness in Black and Brown communities. And we are encouraging us to get our checkup from the neck up and be our best selves. So we're here at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, again, talking about things that will help us be our best selves, be great, and do what we're supposed to do. We all have gifts and talents that the world is waiting on, and we shouldn't be sharing them, but we need to be like Ronnie and writing books, right?
Right.
And being creative. Hold the book up so the folks can see it, Ronnie. We need to see this book. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you can get this on the website. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So Nelson Beats the Odds. He's written 7 books, y'all. 7 books. He was in special ed for 7 years. That's a book a year.
No, I'm gonna use that next time too.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So folks are chiming in ish. Excellent topic and discussion. This topic near and dear to the Rents household. Wonderful. Great session, Rennie. She's my cousin down in South Florida. She is also an educator. Thank you for joining us. Alethea already shared it with my nephew, his mentor, and his mom. Yes, thank you. Sharice, very great show. Thank you, sis. Appreciate you. Asha Harp, this was great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Sister Shalonda, love that. Yes, wonderful. Brittany, awesome, love it. Teresa, I need to get this book for my son. Yes, you do. Yes, Nelson beat the odds. Yes, beats the odds. I'm ordering that for my son now. Love it. Yes, that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. All right. And Kiosha just joining us. We'll catch the replay. Thank you, Kiosha. All right. Well, good people, listen, we are again grateful for your time, your energy, your comments tonight, and your willingness to support what Ronnie has done here with these books. So we really appreciate that support and that love. Tracy, awesome information and triumphal story. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, Ronnie, again, want to thank you again for being my guest. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for the great work that you are doing in your community, but in the world, because this is worldwide what you are doing, brother. And so we appreciate you and definitely would love for you to come back. I know you got some more books in you probably. So all right, very good. All right, well, y'all take care and we will catch y'all next time. Peace.